I'm glad you didn't say the gentleman with a black shirt, because my choice of shirt has nothing whatsoever to do with my political opinions. This is a question for the Mayor. I don't think there's any person in the hall who would take issue with anything that Mayor Livingston said. After all, he was talking about love and brotherhood. But you actually judge a person not by what he says, but by what he does. And I would like to ask the Mayor why, in a conference like today, which includes a very important debate on anti-Semitism, he holds it on the one day when no Orthodox Jew is able to attend.
This has been a problem that has recurred over decades. You would not get an attendance like this if we called this for Sunday. And in exactly the same way that we will have a problem with the 2012 Olympics because it will clash with Ramadan, but it's not reason for not putting the Olympics on in London at that time. Well, what we have done is we've extended the conference so that Orthodox Jews can come and participate before this conference ends. But it's a problem that's consistently come back, and we've had exactly the same sort of worries and concerns from many leading Muslims about the clash of Ramadan with the 2012 Olympics. It's impossible to fit everything around every religious calendar.
Thank you. And just as we don't discriminate against those in black shirts, I'm going to go to the far left, sir. The gentleman over there. Yes, no, just behind you, sir. The one with the hand up. Yes, please stand up. Yep. Just wait for the microphone.
My name is Mohammed from Iraqi Kurdistan. I think there is a clash of fundamentalism instead of a clash of civilizations. And I believe the Islamic barbarism does exist, and unfortunately exists around the world. And it is very active in my country, in Iraq. But on the other hand, another fundamentalism does exist as well. I think neo-conservatism is an example of that. So there is a clash between the policies of Al-Qaeda and neo-conservatism. So it is a choice for us whether we should.
Do you have a question, sir? Do you have a question?
So my question is, I think the violence cannot be tackled by violence. So the approach that Mr. Daniel follows is tackling violence, Islamic violence, by violence. And just mentioned to your seminary, SOAS last week at SOAS University. I think you are a keen advocate of violence means, and it is non-modern, and it is a kind of authoritarian approach to tackle another violence. Thank you.
Yes, I think what the gentleman was referring to is I gave a talk on. I think what the gentleman was referring to is I gave a talk on Thursday evening at SOAS, the University of London School of Oriental and African Studies, in which I gave my understanding of the Arab-Israeli conflict. And to make a long story short, I argued that wars end when one side gives up. And one can choose one side. One can either want the Israeli side to give up, in which case there is no more Israel, or one can hope for the Palestinian Arab Muslim side to give up, in which case Israel and its neighbors have harmonious relations, in which one's accepted. In order to achieve in order to achieve that, in order for Israel and its neighbors to have harmonious relations, requires that the Palestinians give up on their goals, and that in turn means a sense of defeat. And I argue, since I do want Israel to be accepted by its neighbors, I argue that is something that we Western states should make its our goal. And I did not get at all into methods, tactics, how to achieve that. It's simply saying the goal is Palestinians should give up on their dream of eliminating Israel. I did not answer that. Perhaps it's useful, once I'm clarifying the record, to note from Ms. Yaqub that I did not say that Muslims hate the Western way of life. I did not say that there's something in the Islamic faith that is violent. You have all heard me, ladies and gentlemen. I did not say those words. I wish you would not put words into my mouth. Listen to what I say, and argue with me. But don't strive to do things I haven't said.
Gentleman at the back there in the blue shirt with the glasses. Yes, sir. Oh, there's two gentlemen in blue shirts. Well, the one on my left, yes, you sir, the light blue shirt. Yes. Can we get a microphone to that gentleman? I made it as difficult as possible for you. This is the test of your agility. It's to your right. There you go.
Thanks, Gavin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor Livingston, you won't remember this, but before the last mayoral election, we met in North Finchley Shopping Centre when you were campaigning. And I asked you one question, and the question I asked you was about your views on Israel. Your response was that Israel should never have been created in the first place. I'd like to ask you about those views. I'd like to ask the panellists as well. And in view of the fact that you believe in a world civilization, and in view of the fact that you believe in the right of people to have self-determination, why should you take issue with the Jewish people to have their own state? Why should you take issue with what Martin Luther King, in his passage which was called A Letter to a Non-Jewish Friend,
that was the fabrication.
He said that Jews had the right to a state as much as any other organisation had a right to a nation-state.
No one would disagree with the academic concept that the Jews have a right to a state. What they didn't have a right to was the displacement of the Arab community. I would not have created an Israel, but there is an Israel there. I support the concept of the two-state solution. I want to see the ending of the war and the separation so that there is economic links in the way that war is inconceivable now between France and Germany. But it was a travesty. And the main force driving American policymakers in actually getting the UN vote to create the State of Israel was they were too frightened of anti-Semitism in America and Britain to do what we should have done, which is open our doors to the refugees from Hitler and welcome them into Britain and America, not because of our fear of anti-Semitism, actually displace an established Arab population who have spent the last 60 years living in degrading conditions and suffering from constant violence.
This is a question for Mayor Livingston.
Yes.
We've heard here Daniel Pipes speak, and right after, we had Mr. Murray naming people. And involving in that practice that Daniel Pipes has mastered through his website Campus Watch, which has attacked academics regularly and had to undermine freedom of speech on American campuses. Now, why do they do that, Mayor Livingston? Why do they expect that they have a right to come and speak and be heard and be respected, while they go shutting up people for standing up for Palestinian rights, for attacking Israeli apartheid? Now, these are people with blood on their hands. Mr. Pipes has advised the American administration on the Iraq war. He consistently supports Israeli policies. We just heard him now, justifying Israeli colonialism, justifying the apartheid wall, justifying the destruction of Palestinian rights, and the killing, practically, of hundreds of thousands of people. Now, what is other than destruction?
I'm quite happy for Mr. Pike to deal with Mr. Pike's website.
Right, okay, Mr. Pike's deal with Mr. Pike's website. Go ahead.
4 years ago, I started a little project called Campus Watch, whose purpose was to make the larger world aware of the deficiencies in North American studies on the Middle East. What we did was to collect information and to do our own research. In other words, to find what others had done and repost it and to do some of the research. We have no police powers. We are a small think tank. We believe that those who engage in the public arena, such as politicians or movie stars or academics, should be held accountable. And the mayor will attest as a political figure that he is being scrutinized and criticized all the time. It's what comes with the territory. I don't think